Human trafficking, often called modern-day slavery, is a global crisis. It affects millions worldwide, yet it often remains hidden. Victims are trapped in forced labor, sexual exploitation, and other horrific situations. The statistics are staggering, but the true scope of the problem remains elusive due to its clandestine nature. This essay aims to shed light on this dark underbelly of our world, exploring the intricacies of human trafficking and the fight to eradicate it. This is not a problem confined to far-off lands. It exists everywhere, even in the most developed nations. It thrives in the shadows, exploiting vulnerabilities and profiting from desperation. The faces of human trafficking are diverse, encompassing men, women, and children from all walks of life. Recognizing the signs and understanding the mechanisms of this crime are crucial first steps in combating it. Only then can we hope to break the invisible chains that bind millions in exploitation. Human trafficking is the exploitation of individuals for profit through force, fraud, or coercion. It involves the recruitment, harboring, transportation, or control of persons. The purpose is exploitation, including forced labor, sexual exploitation, organ harvesting, and forced marriage. The International Labor Organization estimates 40.3 million people are trapped in modern slavery. Forced labor is the most common form, involving involuntary work under threat or penalty. Sex trafficking involves commercial sexual exploitation through force, fraud, or coercion. Organ trafficking involves the illegal removal and sale of human organs. Forced marriage occurs when an individual is forced into marriage without their consent. Human trafficking is a violation of human rights and a global crisis demanding our attention. Traffickers are adept at identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities. They often target individuals who are desperate for a better life, promising them good jobs, education, or romantic relationships. These promises are often empty, and victims find themselves trapped in exploitative situations. Traffickers use deception, coercion, and violence to control their victims. Deception lures victims with false promises of a better life. Coercion involves threats, intimidation, and abuse. Violence includes physical and sexual abuse to maintain power. Understanding these methods helps us identify and disrupt trafficking operations. Human trafficking is a global issue, but certain regions are considered hotspots due to a confluence of factors. These factors include poverty, conflict, lack of education, and weak law enforcement. Identifying these hotspots is crucial for focusing resources and interventions to combat trafficking effectively. South Asia, with its large population and high levels of poverty, is a major source and destination for human trafficking. Victims are often trafficked within the region for forced labor in industries like agriculture, construction, and garment manufacturing. Southeast Asia is another hotspot, with trafficking for sexual exploitation being a significant problem. The region's booming tourism industry and weak law enforcement create a conducive environment for traffickers. Eastern Europe and Central Asia are source regions for trafficking, particularly for sexual exploitation. The collapse of the Soviet Union and the subsequent economic hardship left many vulnerable to trafficking. Africa is a source, transit, and destination region for human trafficking. Poverty, conflict, and weak governance contribute to the prevalence of trafficking in many African countries. Addressing the root causes of trafficking in these hotspots is crucial for combating this crime. This includes promoting economic development, improving education, strengthening law enforcement, and addressing gender inequality. Section 5. Scars of exploitation, the human cost. The human cost of human trafficking is, well, immeasurable.
Victims suffer physical, emotional, and psychological trauma that can have long-lasting effects.
Their stories are a testament to the horrors of this crime and the resilience of the human spirit.
Many victims endure physical abuse, including beatings, starvation, and torture.
They may be forced to work long hours in dangerous conditions without adequate food, water, or rest.
The sexual exploitation of victims leaves deep emotional scars.
They are often subjected to rape, sexual assault, and psychological abuse, which can lead to PTSD, anxiety, and depression.
The psychological impact of trafficking is profound. Victims often experience feelings of shame, guilt, and worthlessness.
They may struggle with trust, intimacy, and forming healthy relationships.
Many victims face challenges reintegrating into society after their ordeal.
They may have limited education or job skills, making it difficult to find employment and rebuild their lives.
Despite the horrors they have endured, many survivors display incredible resilience and strength. Their stories offer hope and inspiration and highlight the urgent need to combat this heinous crime. Section 7. A global fight combating human trafficking. Combating human trafficking requires a multifaceted approach involving governments, law enforcement agencies, non-governmental organizations, and individuals. Strong legislation is crucial for prosecuting traffickers and protecting victims. Laws should criminalize all forms of trafficking, provide stiff penalties for traffickers, and ensure that victims have access to justice and support.
Law enforcement agencies play a vital role in investigating and dismantling trafficking networks. This includes training law enforcement officers to identify and respond to trafficking cases, conducting undercover operations, and collaborating with international partners to pursue traffickers across borders.
International cooperation is essential for combating trafficking, as it is a transnational crime that often involves multiple countries.
Non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, play a crucial role in providing direct services to victims, raising awareness about trafficking and advocating for policy changes. They often work on the ground, identifying victims, providing shelter and support, and advocating for their rights.
Public awareness is essential for preventing trafficking and encouraging people to report suspicious activities. Campaigns can educate the public about the realities of trafficking, the signs to look out for, and how to report suspected cases. By working together, we can create a world where human trafficking is no longer tolerated. Section 8. Recognizing the signs, how you can help. Everyone has a role to play in combating human trafficking. By learning to recognize the signs and taking action, we can help protect potential victims and hold traffickers accountable. Be wary of individuals offering jobs that seem too good to be true, especially if they involve traveling to another country. Look for signs of physical abuse, such as bruises, cuts, or burns, which may indicate forced labor or other forms of exploitation. Victims of trafficking may appear fearful, anxious, or submissive. They may avoid eye contact, hesitate to speak for themselves, or provide scripted answers to questions. Be suspicious if someone claims to be someone's parent or guardian but cannot provide basic information about them. Traffickers often confiscate their victims' identification documents and control their movements. If you suspect someone is a victim of trafficking, do not approach them directly or confront the suspected trafficker. Contact your local law enforcement agency or a trafficking hotline to report your suspicions. Provide as much detail as possible, including the location, time, and description of the individuals involved. By being vigilant and reporting suspicious activities, we can help law enforcement agencies investigate and prosecute trafficking cases. Remember, even one phone call can make a difference in saving a life. Section 9. Breaking the chains, a collective responsibility. Eradicating human trafficking is a monumental task, but it is not insurmountable. It requires a collective effort from governments, law enforcement agencies, NGOs, businesses, and individuals worldwide. We must address the root causes of trafficking, such as poverty, inequality, and lack of opportunity. This includes promoting economic development, improving education, and empowering women and girls. We must strengthen law enforcement efforts to identify, investigate, and prosecute traffickers. This includes providing adequate resources to law enforcement agencies, training officers to recognize and respond to trafficking cases, and increasing international cooperation. Supporting organizations that provide direct services to victims is crucial. We must educate ourselves and others about the realities of human trafficking. This includes learning to recognize the signs, understanding the methods used by traffickers, and knowing how to report suspected cases. By working together, we can create a world where every individual is free from exploitation and abuse. Let us join hands to break the chains of human trafficking and build a brighter future for all.